when you're on a call and they ask about price, do you bring that up? Because I know that Seth, when he talks about it, he says not to talk about price. But I know like in your trainings, you say like you should bring it up. So just wondering like how would you handle that? What would you say?
Right. So it's one of those where when I say bring it up, I don't mean like you should like introduce it straight away, right? Like it's
Yeah.
something that we do mention like at the end of the call. But just so I understand the context, did they ask really early on? Did they ask like at the end? Like when did they ask you about it?
I mean, there was someone who did ask like early on and was like definitely like wanting to know really early on the call. But I also sometimes I'm not 100% sure if they're like financially qualified. So I'm just trying to figure out the best things to ask just to make sure that they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, at the end of the day, think about it. As you're a gatekeeper for the closer, when somebody brings up like how much is it very early on, that is a red flag, right? Oftentimes, most people will ask that just to see if they can afford the program, oftentimes. So what I would always do is I would acknowledge what they've said. So I'd be like, yeah, of course, I'm happy to cover that with you. I guess I don't have many people, ask me this early days. I guess was there something that brought you to ask? Like, I would just want to understand what's even brought them to ask in the first place. Once I understand that, I can then just clarify with them. I would clarify on the costs. I would say, look, for someone to actually work with us to help them get to where they want to be, typically they would require at least, and then just come up with like the number that's at least like what they need for a payment plan, plus obviously like what they need as far as logistics, which I think they need to hire somebody. It's like $500 a month, like maintenance costs that they will need to cover. And then as far as payment plans, I think, you'll need at least 2K. But if they have just 2K in the bank and that's it, like that's a red flag. That's someone that we could maybe, you can nurture them, provide them with some value, maybe the mini course, and then they can work with you and you just nurture them in the long term. That's what I would recommend. But yeah, it's one of those where you want to eliminate the elephant in the room as soon as possible. Address it based on their reaction. That will tell you like whether or not that person's qualified in a way that they don't just have the money, but can they actually get access to it, and are they willing to get access to it as well?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So some people will just be like, "Oh no, I definitely can't afford that." It's like, "Oh well, hold on. I mean, let's assume that you love what we do. You want to actually get started with us. Like, is it something that you would even be able to go out and access if that's possible?" Right? Like I for then I just want to test willingness because some people they hear a price and they're like, oh no way, right?
Mhm.
Without really diving into the details. So that's what I would say for pricing.